Welcome back to the channel, guys. In this video, we're talking about the impending market volatility. This could be both drastically bad, or we could see some serious upside here for Bitcoin in particular as geopolitical tensions spill over into the weaponization of financial instruments. We've also got the Bitcoin weekly close, which happened just yesterday, and also the monthly close later today. So quite a few things on the timeline to be aware of in terms of the trajectory of these markets. We're going to start here with the Bitcoin chart though. So currently at around $38,400 right now. In terms of the monthly closure, I have it on good authority from Mr. Eric Crown that we need to see either a closure below, which will be later today, the region of around $36,500, somewhere around this 22nd of Feb low here. So a movement for Bitcoin into this region or lower would be highly bearish on a monthly time frame. Then we have a period of no man's land in here that will be a contentious area, and then around $41,000, which was around this point here in the chart. Back on the 18th of February, a closure above this kind of region at 41K would be bullish on the monthly. As we stand right now, Bitcoin, as we've seen, has been chopping up and down between the very low 40,000 to high 38s over the weekend. And of course, we had a bit of a dump last night as we've been rejected from the 39 to 40K region that we were seemingly sticking to. That rejection has seen us plow all the way back down to around 37,000 bucks. We're now recovering a bit to 38,300, but with so much uncertainty in the markets and tensions rising in Ukraine, it does appear that we could be primed for a big move in either direction, but the bias here would be towards the downside. On a weekly time frame here, we just closed out the weekly and it was below 38,500. This is an area in the sand that Rec Capital has been mapping out here, and he says we need to reclaim the 38.5K region as a support. It's now currently acting as a resistance on a weekly time frame, which is bearish. This then ties into the fact if we were to drop a little bit lower, maybe to the 36K region on the monthly, you've got this kind of picture where we're just continually sliding down and down and down and flipping previous areas of supports into resistances along the way, as we've seen there with around 43K and now 38.5. This then opens the door to a move towards the green box, which is the previous low we set in the summer around $28,000 and change. So what are the big events that are currently taking place, the sanctions going for Russia that are continually adding to the house of cards that could collapse at any moment? Well, we have this, the exclusion from SWIFT payment system. And there was a open letter shared by the Credit Suisse MD, Zoltan Pozar, just yesterday. So this is the full letter here. We're just going to go into Jim Bianco's summary here. So Jim Bianco, another macro analyst and trader that I've been following for quite some time, has his ducks in a row. Exclusions from SWIFT will lead to missed payments and giant overdrafts similar to the missed payments and giant overdrafts we saw in March of 2020. And central banks should stand ready to make markets again on Monday. So talking about potential market intervention, the actual quote here, risk in the current scenario involves an entire country's banking system. Banks' inability to make payments due to their exclusion from SWIFT is the same as Lehman's inability to make payments due to its clearing bank's unwillingness to send payments on its behalf. History does not repeat itself, but it often rhymes. That in relation to the 2008 financial crisis, and the consequence of excluding banks from SWIFT is real, and so is the need for central banks to reactivate daily US dollar funds supplying operations. So in the comments here, a bit of to and fro. This guy comes in, still think we get those rate hikes in, Jim. He abruptly replies, of course, if the economy crashes, then no. Are you taking credit for predicting a world war that was going to collapse economic activity and stop the Fed? Not at all an honest question. I thought you said they had to do it, i.e. raise rates no matter what happened. And he says, I did say that and still believe it. But why did they have to do it? They had to do it to hit the economy, to slow demand and bring down inflation. If a world war does the same thing, then no need for the Fed to hike and hike. We'll have to check back in 24 hours. So definitely a lot of market uncertainty and moves that are going to be made over the next day or so, and primarily in the next few hours, I think with the New York Open coming up. We're seeing a lot of volatility after hours in the markets. If the equity markets fears continue, then we could be about to see some great buying opportunities for crypto, says Lark Davis. Uncertainty equals volatility, and nothing more volatile than a Mr. Vladimir Putin here. Ruble-denominated Bitcoin volumes surging to a 9-month high. So we're seeing that there is increased demand from Russian citizens to buy BTC. However, you've got to also think that the rubles lost like 40% value in the last 24 hours. So they would naturally have to exchange more rubles for Bitcoin in that regard. But this is the highest activity they've had since May 2021. If we just go down here, you can see the Russian currency ruble plunged over 8% to 90 per the US dollar last week and extended the slide by another 28% today in one day. A national currency falling that much, reaching a record low of 118 per dollar according to Bloomberg's data. Gold, US Treasury and US dollar and the Swiss franc have been beneficiaries of the flight to safety. And over the weekend, this is due to the fact that the US and allies have stepped up against Russia to remove them from the SWIFT banking payments infrastructure. And this ramping up is what has caused Mr. Vladimir Putin to order the country's nuclear deterrent force to be on high alert. So really troubling times. And certainly not a guy you want to be backing into a corner when he has that kind of weapon in his arsenal. So very tense times, really scary to be honest with you, and not something we were expecting to see at the start of 2022. So a really interesting take on the situation here from Kobe, host of the Up Only podcast. So whether it's a Russian war sanctions or Canada's citizen protest sanctions, 2022 has made it clear that money has been weaponized like never before in history. The ultimate deplatforming to be removed from tools for global or local organized trade. What impact will this have? Adversaries of the West have demonstrable evidence of weakness through reliance on the US dollar. Seems obvious that China would be happy to bifurcate global reserve currencies. I wonder if or how they will do it with their capital controls. Since 1450, the average length of a world reserve currency is just 94 years, and the dollar became the world reserve currency at the end of World War II. With the exception of the UK to the US, nearly every transfer of hegemony in history was fought for. Prior to this year, I would have imagined all future transfers of hegemony to be peaceful and not fought militarily, but now he's not so sure. But do we think we'll see the acceleration of non-USD denominated monetary orders around the world? And for citizens who are now realizing with clear examples that they can be off-boarded from their local money or can have their global wealth halved in minutes by external hyperpowers, I think we will see a greater demand for an apolitical solution. So finishing with this, two important trends can emerge. One, greater demand for storing assets in politically neutral places, Switzerland, the Swiss franc, for example, or two, a continual reduction in practical, politically neutral options, thus eventually greater demand for permissionless and decentralized solutions with multi-currency options, i.e. the crypto solution. And then Raoul Pal comes in here. He was living in Spain at the time when Cyprus was the big one back in 2012. People's savings literally stolen from their bank accounts, and that led him to directly invest in BTC back then. So we live in crazy, crazy times here. But the long-term outlook here for cryptocurrency, primarily Bitcoin, I would say, is just so damn bullish. The more and more people wake up to this fact that their governments can literally turn off the tap in terms of their money flows, stop you from being able to live, you need to opt out of that system or at least have a hedge in crypto assets, primarily BTC. So what is actually happening right now? People are suggesting this. It feels like a heightened probability of a black swan level crypto sell-off. People wanted to rip the band-aid off, and that wish may be granted. No, this isn't a bear post, this is a bull post. A giganuke event will be generational opportunities or entries. So Captain Rational, Noah Sideman, I've never seen a more polar situation. Everything is primed to the tits for either straight up or straight down. If we were seeing a flight to safety towards BTC right now, we could have seen that in a huge way and Bitcoin just absolutely start flying up in valuation. Hasn't happened as of yet, but still this could be on the cards. But also on the flip side, if for example you're Russian and you've got a load of crypto assets, for example, and you're being removed from the banking infrastructure, maybe you need to start selling off assets to raise cash ASAP. So we could see the opposite actually happen and a straight down for financial markets. Of course, economic crisis could occur with a collapse in financial systems if the SWIFT payments issue is as big as that previous article is stating. And so this certainly seems like a time to be well hedged with cash ready on the sides. We also saw this, Ukraine ask exchanges to freeze Russian and Belarusian crypto accounts. This one was a really tricky one, to be honest with you. I just don't see how this is fair on Russian citizens, the majority of which probably do not want Putin to be invading the Ukraine right now. So this was an open call from this guy here, Mikhailo Fedorov, the Vice Prime Minister. I'm asking for all major crypto exchanges to block addresses of Russian users. It's crucial to freeze not only the addresses linked to Russian and Belarusian politicians, but also sabotage ordinary users. But Jesse Powell from Kraken says they will not be doing this and they cannot freeze accounts of Russian clients without a legal requirement to do so. However, Russians should be aware that such a requirement could be imminent. So having custody of your crypto funds is very important. This has been highlighted time and time again, and this could be a real reckoning for centralized exchanges, with even the CEOs of centralized exchanges telling you, look, if the law comes down, we have to freeze their funds. And as Bagsy posts to this, discuss, and I do feel like this is just a step too far. Any sanctions that you wish to impose on others, you have to be willingly accepting to have imposed on yourself. That to say, if you accept these kind of rules and these demands, then you could well be next in line to be on the receiving end of that. And I just do not see that that is fair on normal citizens at this point. I understand the oligarchs, etc., having financial constraints imposed on them, but this is very troubling stuff if it were to go through. So a major net beneficiary of this could well be the decentralized exchange tokens, due to the fact DEXs are the only way you can transact without a middleman, without a third party, without a custodian saying, nope, you are on the blacklist and you cannot start trading. You're seeing Uniswap up around 6% per day. There's a few smaller cap big movers here, but nothing special as of yet. But I would expect if there are to be issues with centralized exchanges, you're going to see some big moves in some of these DEX tokens. So this from Ryan Cancering Clark, just as a reminder to anyone who isn't cut out for this, you aren't going to miss your chance to get rich by staying out right now. So the next few weeks or months are not going to define our crypto futures. If you aren't in the market, maybe if there's a huge crash, you probably want to enter the market at that point. But trading during this chop and this uncertainty is probably a bad idea for 99.99% of us. So we're seeing a continued ramping up of this geopolitical uncertainty here. People in Russia of UK backgrounds, French backgrounds, and even US citizens being told to pretty much get out of town and escape the country ASAP. Japan is deciding to subsidy its gasoline as well to, of course, offset any issues with rising fuel costs. And then we're seeing the likes of Volkswagen temporarily suspending deliveries of cars already in Russia to Russian dealerships. So the supply chain is contracting around varying items. The Russian stock exchange is not being open. It will not trade today as well. There is no sell button for foreign investors into the Moscow exchange also, and we're seeing talks have begun between Russia and the Ukrainians here. But just crazy stuff. I would suggest that Walter Bloomberg here, there's a few fake accounts. This guy's got 491,000 subscribers. He's the one to follow for all these live updates as we progress through the day. So a roundup of the uncertainty, the volatility, what is coming for crypto. This is unprecedented times, a time for eyes wide open and just to take all of this in and see exactly what the landscape is saying to us. No need for any rash behavior at this moment in time. I would, however, suggest it may be suitable to look through some charts of your favorite cryptos you want to accumulate and place some stink bids at levels you didn't think were possible, because if we do get a unwinding of financial markets and a bit of a crash, at that point you're probably not going to want to buy. But if you get those orders in place already, then you will actually get fills if they come in. So that's the kind of thing I'm going to be doing today, putting my stink bids in at the ready. I hope you enjoyed today's content. If you did, please drop me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you again tomorrow. Goodbye.